It's the second most populated country on Earth, has the 7th biggest economy, has one of the 10 biggest military budgets in the world, and is a nuclear power. However, India is a stranger in political terms. If I were to ask you, who's the Prime Minister of India, could you tell me? Now, I am aware that many of you will actually know this, especially if you're watching this video from India. But if you don't know who the Prime Minister of India is, don't worry, because, well, that happens a lot. On the 26th of May, 2014, after an absolute majority which had not been seen in 30 years, Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister of India. Modi's mission? Well, it was clear. Boost growth, investment, and create millions of jobs. In conclusion, turn India into a superpower capable of competing with China on an economic, political, and military level.
चीन के साथ भारत के कोई एक समस्या नहीं है, कई समस्याओं का ढेर पड़ा हुआ है.
Now, India, dear VisualPolitik viewers, is something of an eternal promise. It's always that country that seems to be the next one that's going to take off, but it never really does. We can see that this is definitely the case if we take a look at India's GDP and compare it to that of China. They've seen quite different economic development in the last few decades. So with Modi's victory, expectations are once again high and India has again become the talk of the town. Modi is repeating over and over again that the 21st century is going to be India's century. But before we get into all of that, let's take a look at Modi himself.
Who is Narendra Modi?
Vegetarian, single, and a yoga enthusiast, Modi escapes the traditional politician profile. He comes from a family of limited means and when he was a child used to help his father sell tea in a train station. This has helped him earn the sympathy of many poor people in the country. They see him as an example of a rags to riches story and shows that rags to riches in India can sometimes work. His political ideology has always been very attached to Hinduism, and he has not always taken a moderate approach. In fact, before getting involved with the BJP party, he was involved with the RSS party. The RSS party is an extreme right party that had Mahatma Gandhi's assassin as one of its members. For 13 years, between 2001 and 2014, Modi was the regional prime minister in the state of Gujarat. Gujarat, with its 65 million inhabitants, has become, under Modi's leadership, India's greatest economic driver with an annual growth rate of 10%. Alongside these impressive figures, social welfare has also greatly improved. Almost every home has access to plumbing, electricity, and preschool education. While the general election in India was taking place, Modi promised to replicate what he'd done in his state in the rest of India. Furthermore, he promised to do this in just 10 years, which is only 2 political terms.
दौड़ने का इरादा रखता हूं, क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि इस देश के दुनिया हमसे पीछे थी, वो काफी आगे निकल चुकी है. अभी उसके साथ मैच करने के लिए हमें बहुत दौड़ने की जरूरत है.
This is because, for Modi, the year 2022 is a landmark year. It's the 75th anniversary of India's independence. The country will also surpass China as the world's most populous country, reaching a population of 1.6 billion people. Modi says that by the year 2022, it's going to be clear that the 21st century is India's century. But this is certainly not going to be easy, especially in a country where the population is growing by 28 people every minute.
India's major problems.
Now, India has many problems, but 3 do stand out as particularly important. The first is that India is a bureaucrat's paradise. In fact, if bureaucracy was the key to prosperity, India would probably be the most prosperous country in the world. Unfortunately, though, bureaucracy, instead of encouraging business, actually prevents it.
John Kerry has blamed the Indian bureaucracy for putting roadblocks in the growth of Indian economy.
According to the Doing Business report from the World Bank, which estimates how easy it is to do business, India occupies the 130th position. Each step of the way to establishing a business in India takes a ton of documents, and then the taxes are not only high, not that anyone really pays them, but they are also a nightmare to sort out. For example, there are not only different taxes in each individual state, but there are sometimes different taxes for each individual product or different models of the same product. This is something that commonly happens with vehicles, and it is a real nightmare for anyone to work out.
प्रोसेस इतनी कठिन होती हैं और एक बार इस चक्कर में पैर पड़ गया तो पता नहीं कब निकलेंगे, डर रहता है.
Further, absenteeism among public workers has reached such a critical state that some hospitals have been forced to close temporarily because of a lack of staff. The second big problem is that regulations in the marketplace make it so complicated that the market is barely able to function. On the borders between different states, you'll find trucks that are just queuing to cross the border. Not a few people say that it's actually easier to import something from abroad than it is to get something from another state. Further, there is the terrible state of the country's infrastructure as well. As a consequence of this, it is estimated that half of the country's harvest goes to waste every year because of these delays. And the third big problem is that corruption is a big issue in Indian society. As a quick example of this, it is estimated that 50% of all money that the government gives for welfare either ends up in the hands of corrupt politicians or middlemen. And so this is the country that Modi is having to deal with.
The new government's policies.
The revolution that some have suggested has not yet taken place. However, the truth is that the government has achieved some notable advances. For example, we could highlight the following. In order to reduce bureaucracy, the government has created a committee with the purpose of determining which rules and regulations are obsolete and should be eliminated. So far, they've done away with more than 1,700 of these rules. Modi has also eliminated many restrictions on foreign investment. He has passed the first bankruptcy law and has set up a powerful plan to make India a destination for businesses. He has also set forth an ambitious plan for better financial inclusion. This plan has a pretty unpronounceable name, so I'm just going to show it on the screen now. And this plan has basically allowed for people to have a bank account for the first time. The number of people who've taken this up is about 200 million, and this basically means that welfare money that is coming from the government doesn't have to go through any middlemen. Further, the government has also put forth a plan to simplify the very complicated tax system, having a flat sales tax at the national level. Modi has also announced that they're going to be spending a lot of money on infrastructure, with $130 billion being spent on rail by 2020.
So again, this year, the plan is to really connect a lot of these small towns and cities to the main national highway. And the target of the government is to construct 10,000 kilometers of road every year.
But these aside, Modi's most risky move so far happened in November of 2016.
India's cash crisis.
In order to fight corruption, India suddenly made the country's 500 and 1,000 rupee notes illegal. These represented 85% of all of the hard cash in India, a country that is really a cash-based economy. The goal was to find dirty money and punish it when the owners came into the bank to switch out their 500 and 1,000 notes for ones in the new design. However, the plan was an utter disaster. The government didn't have enough cash to replace the money that people wanted to exchange. Further, the country's ATMs weren't working properly because the new currency was a different shape to the old currency and the ATMs hadn't been adjusted.
I don't know what to do. People here have no money to buy my products, so I can't buy stock from the market either. It's the end of my business.
This was a botched operation that left the country moneyless and caused significant damage to the economy. Sales fell in November by more than 30%. Many businesses simply weren't able to pay their workers, and many business transactions had to be cancelled. Some studies estimate that the total damage was 2 points of India's GDP. This would mean that the banknote switch cost India $50 billion. And unfortunately, the poorest in the country were the hardest hit. Then the government tried to say that it was all part of some big plan to encourage people to use more electronic money. Ah, politicians.
Foreign policy agenda.
Now this is the field where the Prime Minister has really excelled. In his first year alone, he visited 19 countries. Despite the fact that he's only been in power for a short amount of time, he has achieved some notable advances. The Pakistan Treaty has improved India-Pakistani relations, and a relationship with China has started dealing with some economic and commercial issues.
At a joint press conference, President Xi Jinping announced $20 billion worth of investment in India's infrastructure in 5 years.
However, without any doubt, the greatest strength of Modi's political agenda has been his approach to the United States. The chemistry between Obama and Modi has been quite significant, and their encounters have been frequent and friendly. They have both even published an article together in the Washington Post. So what we really need to ask now is, will Modi achieve his goals? There are certainly a great deal of challenges that he is going to have to overcome. For example, it's been made clear to the Prime Minister just how tricky it is to put limits on bureaucracy. Further, Modi has avoided many essential reforms, such as ending India's labour regulation, which has meant that 4 out of every 5 jobs in the country are on the grey market. Modi claims to be an admirer of Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's ex-Prime Minister, but Modi doesn't seem to have the same drive or determination to transform India's model. So this is just our opinion here at VisualPolitik, and we would love to know what you think. Do you think that the 21st century is going to be India's century? Do you think that Modi is going to achieve all that he has set out to achieve? Do let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Also, please do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos every Monday and Thursday. And as always, I'll see you next time.